Hello. We would like to thank you for taking the time and effort to listen to our presentation today. My name is Crystal Kazanis. This is Garrett Mark, Natnel Takeste, and Mitchell Gould. And we are presenting to you the Strategic Sustainability Long-Term Action Plan for Nordstrom. Think, adapt, and anticipate. You'll see what we mean shortly. We will first cover today Nordstrom's Corporate Social Responsibility, or CSR, efforts. We will then go into the long-term industry threats that face the fashion industry. We will then evaluate Nordstrom's current state, followed by some recommendations for Nordstrom to take now and into the future, and then finish with a conclusion and a Q&A of our presentation. And now Natnel will go into the CSR of Nordstrom.
Thank you, Crystal. Nordstrom's corporate social responsibility is built on a foundation of 4 pillars. The first pillar is supporting the communities. Here's where Nordstrom gives back to the communities where they do business in. The second pillar is sustaining the environment. Nordstrom works to reduce or eliminate harmful impacts of their business on the environment. The third pillar is protecting human rights. Nordstrom strives to ensure that the employees who help manufacture their products globally have rights that are protected. The last pillar is caring for our people. Nordstrom creates a workplace environment that offers great benefits, fosters growth, and upholds diversity. These pillars each represent vital issues Nordstrom must face to their commitment for social responsibility. Now, we will touch briefly on the long-term threats that face Nordstrom and the fashion industry in the coming years. According to the Fashion Futures 2025 report, the level of market volatility due to global climate change, resource shortage, and political unrest is expected to increase. Materials are projected to be volatile in price and availability in the near future. Water shortages and global warming combine to make procuring materials and manufacturing textiles expensive and scarce. According to the Business Insider, the U.S. must spend roughly $255 billion within the next 5 years in order to prevent deterioration of the water infrastructure. Now, in this current economy of ours, oil price dynamics are different than even 10 years ago. Political unrest in the Middle East, speculators' investment habits in commodity indexes, increasing climate change, and a stricter, more regulatory environment have all led to more expensive oil, and now this trend will continue in the medium and long-term range as well. Now, addressing labor, the 2011 cost of living in second-tier cities in China have surpassed that of the U.S., using the New York City as a baseline. This has caused companies to increase foreign business setups and investments by 16.4% overall. It is clear that within their supply chain, Nordstrom needs to focus on their materials, transport, and labor threats. Next, we'll be evaluating Nordstrom's current state. Nordstrom is already doing very well according to their 2011 Corporate Social Responsibility Progress Report, which focuses on their progress in 8 different sectors. What you see here are some of the accomplishments of note thus far. The first one is the Smart Way program. The Smart Way is a collaboration between the U.S. EPA and the freight transportation industry to improve fuel efficiency and save money. Nordstrom implemented strategies for improved freight logistics, driver training, and idling reduction, and have worked to get their primary carriers to join the program as well, all of which of Nordstrom carriers are now Smart Way certified. Nordstrom has also reduced their supply chain dependency on energy by installing innovative heating and cooling systems, waste reduction efforts, and recycling programs as well. We have, however, identified some improvements that could elevate their sustainable efforts while reducing their dependency in volatile markets. Up next, we have Garrett, and he will be introducing some of the recommendations we have made.
Thank you, Natnel. Our strategy to Nordstrom comes from our analysis that this company is already taking great strides to be socially responsible. The strategies or the strategic advantages that Natnel has pointed out are what has made Nordstrom an icon for the last 100 years. Thus, our strategy recommendation is elevation. We want to fill the gaps in Nordstrom's CSR, round out their sustainable activities, and in doing so, rise to a level of sustainability that moves them from impressive to superior. In accordance with the strategy of elevation, you will see that the following recommendations are to fill in those gaps through tactile efforts in simultaneously addressing the rising threats the volatile markets within materials, labor, and transportation. We will address the immediate action items first and then move into those that are more complex and require greater duration. Before I begin, I'd like to point out the pie chart that we've included. This easily just shows you which of those three threats are going to be addressed by these recommendations, and it's the same throughout the other recommendation slides. So Nordstrom's recycling efforts are very commendable and were on target in 2011, as they were able to diverge 89.3% of their waste from landfills. In 2012, they wanted to focus their attention on construction materials, but have failed to clarify the depth and clarity of those efforts. We believe a key maneuver in adapting the supply chain to a higher degree of sustainability lies in the adoption of both green construction and green decor materials. In doing so, we begin to clarify a path for Nordstrom to embark on in regards to recycling. Beginning with decor. Along Nordstrom's entire supply chain, materials can be used that adhere to increased levels of social responsibility, using paints without volatile organic compounds which harm air quality, and remanufactured materials for new or renovated Nordstrom retail locations are just two simple and striking improvements that ensure our supply chain is devoted to reducing energy consumption, minimizing waste, and the negative effects on the environment. Now, moving on to energy. As Natnail had explained, it will cost the US $255 billion within 5 years to mitigate the risks of water resource shortage. Water availability across the entire supply chain is an area of great opportunity. Nordstrom can take an early mover advantage and implement a revolutionary technology that can extract clean, pure water from the air at nearly every stage of the supply chain. This technology is called Atmospheric Water Generator, or AWGs. With only 0.03% of the world's water available for consumption, it is imperative that we find new means of eradicating unnecessary consumption and waste of water. We propose a collaborative effort between Nordstrom and suppliers, to implement this technology, particularly among the dyeing processes and raw textile harvesting. With solar energy as its primary fuel source, AWG is virtually self-sustainable. Foreign factories can implement AWGs for both industrial and personal use, meaning that factory workers also have access to clean, free water. We will reduce cost and wasteful water use and create a powerful benefit to our people that positively affects our triple bottom line and sets an example for the entire industry. Our second recommendation is to initiate our Think, Adapt, Anticipate campaign. We envision it as a collaborative effort between Nordstrom, suppliers, second-tier suppliers, and consumers to lobby for the implementation of time-phased sustainability goals in the global apparel arena. Although our focus is on the supply chain that affects Nordstrom directly, the integration of related supply chains is a promising approach to increase overall awareness of CSR. Demand for transparency has become important for supply chains, as consumers want to know the origin of the products and services that they purchase. For example, organic foods is one item that consumers have required companies to divulge information about to ensure the traceability of those goods. Nordstrom will seek to increase consumer awareness for ethical practices by ensuring that our suppliers adhere to sustainable labor practices and elevated human rights, and making this information available for all to see. Our consumers can then trust that our industry, Nordstrom in particular, is devoted to sustainable standards of living everywhere. Now I'm going to pass it off to Mitchell to talk about the third recommendation.
Thanks, Garrett. Schwab till you drop with Oxfam. According to Nordstrom's 2011 Social Responsibility Progress Report, they do a really great job in serving the communities where they do business. In 2011, they donated over $9 million to United Way. They contributed to 278 different organizations, and they awarded 80 academic scholarships to high school students. However, we have identified an opportunity for Nordstrom's to better serve the communities that serve them farther up in the supply chain stream. And in doing so, securing human resources for the future, and by helping them to elevate the workers' standard of living today. Schwab Till You Drop with Oxfam is a program between Mark and Spencer, a major British retailer, and Oxfam, which is a nonprofit organization. So our recommendation would be for Nordstrom to form a similar program with Oxfam. Swapping means to swap and shop. Customers will come into Nordstrom's and bring that old unwanted item that they don't need and drop it into the Oxfam drop boxes. That old item will be transformed, reused, or recycled, and then sold, creating a secondary revenue stream which will be used for humanitarian efforts in the communities that Nordstrom's and their vendors procure raw materials and receive and reget goods from. And Nordstrom's customers who participate in swapping will receive a discount credit for the new items when they donate unwanted clothes. And the program will be primarily ran by Oxfam, but the impact and cost to Nordstrom's is just going to be extra labor hours that to an already existing position. So the main goal of the program would be to collect as many clothes as Nordstrom sells and use those donations to help better serve communities that are farther up in the supply chain stream. So for our fourth recommendation is Style Steal. Nordstrom's, as mentioned earlier, diverted 89.3% of their waste from landfills by through recycling efforts and composting activities. However, that gave us an idea. Is there an opportunity here to create a recycling environment that's also profitable for Nordstrom's? We think so. Our recommendation is to create a closed-loop revenue stream by creating the Style Steal Couture lending library, bringing Nordstrom's signature style to you. This program will allow customers to rent haute couture fashion garments like Rosa Clara dresses, Dolce & Gabbana suits, and other gowns for a strategic price fee. It will give the style-conscious consumer, who can't be seen simply in the same outfit more than once, the ability to experience current trends in addition to their usual Nordstrom staple purchases, and feel good about contributing to sustainable fashion. Again, the selected garments will be offered at a strategically priced fee to avoid detracting sales from our stores. The price will also include insurance fee, and the rental duration of the garments will be 5 days. So the benefits to Nordstrom will be increased visibility to the green consumer market, and as we said earlier, this closed-loop revenue stream will essentially reuse material that will continually generate revenue in a resource-constrained future, and reduce transportation costs since fewer items will be transported back and forth through the supply chain. Now I'll pass it on to Crystal, who will go on to our fifth recommendation.
Thank you. So our fifth recommendation is the Sustainable Design Efforts Fashion Council, or the SDE Council. The Sustainable Design Efforts Fashion Council acts to put forth key design challenges to Nordstrom's textile designers in issues like decreasing textile weight and increasing the durability. Challenges to garment designers on enhancing the ability of a finished garment to transform by using HADA, or hidden and dynamic attributes, while incorporating current trends and designing the garment for the remanufacturing process later. By also putting forth these challenges to new designers in an online forum, discovery and securement of future talent is made in bringing sustainable, dynamic, strong, lightweight garments to Nordstrom's market now and in the future. These challenges will benefit Nordstrom in many ways. They will reduce transport carbon emissions and cost. They will increase the quality and longevity of the garment. They will reduce consumption, and they will create a responsive supply chain. Within its ranks, creating an entity that combines the demand for fashion with the volatility concerns of its supply chain will allow Nordstrom's to foster innovation among its suppliers and to meet efficiency improvements for a sustainable future. Our final recommendation is a Sustainable Steering Committee. Nordstrom's needs sustainable leadership to excel. The Sustainable Steering Committee, or the SSC, will be the encompassing body of Nordstrom that manages their sustainability, including the previous recommendations just stated. The SSC will work in alignment with the traditional business functions of Nordstrom to align triple bottom line concerns, long-term threats, and possible solutions by analyzing potential targets of improvement and their effects on the CSR focus areas, as well as the traditional key performance metrics of the business. In conclusion, these recommendations are in accordance with our strategy to elevate Nordstrom's capacity and involvement in the sustainable landscape and to benefit from engaging in socially responsible activities that will round out their CSR efforts. Implementing these recommendations now and into the future, beginning with the most immediate and easily implementable action items first, then moving into those that require more planning, Nordstrom will be able to engage the customer in their process, their principle, and their philosophy, and create a reciprocal relationship that fosters loyalty, environmental, and empowerment to people, while securing its supply chain. Leave everything better than you found it. Thank you.
10 minutes for questions.
Yeah, I have a question. So you identified sort of fashion industry research indicated that climate change, political unrest, and resource shortages were the three main threats. Could you identify which of those threats is most important or most impactful on Nordstrom's, and of the variety of solutions and recommendations you presented, which you think would be the most urgent strategy to move forward on to address that threat?
I would definitely say that resources are the biggest threat, water being the top of the list. By 2025, there's going to be massive issues with the amount of population boom that we're going to get and the amount of water that can actually go around. And as of now, I believe it's 83% of third country worlds can't even get access to clean water, and the average American consumer consumes over 40 times the amount of water that one of them can even have access to. It's making sure that we can have resources available that are going to allow other industries to prevail. So from water, or from resources, you have the ability to have labor markets, and from there you're able to make products for the consumers.
And at this point, if water has to be reserved for human consumption, it will then be taken away from the growing process of growing cotton and materials for apparel industry.
So is your recommendation today to begin implementing changes in our supply chain today, like installing new equipment to do this AWG process, spend the money now even though there may not be an economic reason now in preparation for this? Or is your recommendation to do analysis now, be prepared to do this if we see the trends actually change?
It's a little bit of a mix of both. There are already analyses being completed that show that this is a necessary thing that we need to take action to. In response to the problems of resource shortage, we need to have water. If, like Crystal said, if it's being focused on the average or the people themselves needing to consume water to live, that's going to battle against what processes can even use. So yes, it's going to take a monetary investment in the short run, but in the long run, we're creating new opportunities and new innovations to figure out how do we tackle these issues now so that in the future they don't affect us regardless of what the scenario presents itself as in the future.
And just to add, definitely adding that style steering committee for them to take the projects and maybe do more analysis in certain areas and to focus on implementing certain things.
I'm going to continue on that water. I agree with you that water is a big issue. But Nordstrom as a retailer doesn't necessarily use a lot of water, right? But yeah, you're recommending that they do a lot of investment, capital expenditure in preparing for a possibility that they may use water or to be a better citizen.
I'll expand on it a little more. It's the idea of the supply chain in general. If we don't get the supply chain on board to these issues now, then we're going to face detrimental problems in the future. And it's not so much of a capital investment on our end. For example, the Smart Way Logistics program that Nat Nail described, what that was it's a subgroup of the US EPA, and it basically ranks every logistics company based on 8 metrics of how they're affecting the environment, whether it be carbon dioxide emissions per whatever volume they want to use. And it's completely free for them too. So they're creating competition within themselves to be at the top of that sustainability list. It's those sort of implementations, such as this AWG technology, that's going to allow us to do it. If we can get our suppliers to see the benefit of being sustainable now, we can easily get them to be on board for future as well.
And I can add on to that. As far as the Corporate Social Responsibility Progress Report of 2011, Nordstrom is actually below target as far as their water restriction habits and meeting what they had actually set out for themselves. But what they're currently doing is just more restrictive habits and trying to watch their water usage just on a day-to-day basis, just anecdotally. So So we felt that actually implementing a technology that does have a payback rate of being able to draw water from the atmosphere would position themselves to make a greater impact that could also have increasing rates of return later.
And just to expand on it just a little bit more, that payback rate is significant. You're talking about a device that can run on solar energy, especially in, well, we all know where it works best, in sunny areas, which is where these third world country factories are. China, Africa, India, that's where the textiles are coming from. They're the ones that are using the processes that really use water. And if we can get them to lower their costs by implementing this, think of the costs that we're going to save in the future as well, and how it benefits Nordstrom and the end consumer.
When I hear payback, I think like net present value, something like that. Did you do
ROI.
Did you do an analysis on what that means
I
to
did a big
Nordstrom today?
analysis because
Ballpark figures?
I can. So an average AWG can produce anywhere from 500 to thousands of gallons a day, and they can cost between $5,000 and $50,000. It sounds like a lot. However, what you got to realize is that you're not hooking up to the grid electrical system, so you're reducing all your expenditure on electricity, and also you're not paying for however much water costs. And I know in America it's going to be much less than it costs in another third world country. So think of the amount of savings that they're really getting. I don't have precise numbers for it, but the logic is there to prove itself.
Are there any examples of doing a clothing rental business for more casual clothes? Because me personally, I don't really want to go out, party in the shirt and jeans you wore last weekend.
I can actually take that one. It's actually had great success. Bag Borrow and Steal is an online website that rents luxury handbags at a monthly rental fee, and it's doing really, really well. There's also another online website called rentherrunway.com. It was started by 2 Harvard business graduates, and they obtained funding by Bain Capital in 2010 and are actually obtaining additional funding to expand. It's doing so well. And what we found was that doing an analysis of the inventory turns in haute couture, that it's much less than the inventory turns in more casual apparel. And we felt that a rental business of the high-end items will allow us to increase inventory turns on the same garment. So you might have a Dolce & Gabbana text print satin sheath dress that retails for $2,200. And if you rent that garment out for 5 days at a price of $250 or $300 with insurance included, you'll get a payback rate of 48 days on that one garment. After that, let's say there's a life of it of 1 year, you will have 7.6 inventory turns, of which 6.6 are pure gross profit. And we found that the consumers that look at this really like the idea of being able to consume, feel beautiful, engage in that gown in the event that they're going to, and they also really are starting to love the idea of being able to allow someone else to enjoy that and feel good about not consuming a net item.
Did that return take into account cannibalization of existing sales? You touched on that on a surface, but...
And we looked at that, and we thought about the possible cannibalization and the fact that it could decrease the inventory turns from 7 from the actual full being rented out every year to even just 4 inventory turns per year would allow still a 3.3 inventory turn gross profit.
So it's turned for you guys, not turned for the manufacturer that's selling them to you. How are they going to feel about it in your relationship with them?
I think that they're still going to be willing to participate with us because they're still going to have an avenue of selling gowns in addition to this. There will still be a market for people who want to purchase a gown.
I just sort of tying off on the last statement, Nordstrom's, leave it better than you found it, sort of whatever that. So I'm assuming that also leave it better than you found it. Right. I'm assuming that's not just about the environment and the communities, but they're also addressing their investor and customer group. That so people who have a financial stake in Nordstrom should be better off having made a financial bet on Nordstrom. Do you see any of your strategies having a particular strong draw to bringing more customers to Nordstrom's?
I think we can really touch on almost every one of our recommendations to do this, especially the ones that attack those resource problems. Those resources are going to be affecting all of us sooner or later, regardless if we want it to or not. And when they realize just the strides that Nordstrom is already taking and the ones that they are going to hopefully implement, they can see that this is a company that we should be backing. Let's back their entire idea.
Which of your recommendations recognize or address the political issues? So we talked about resources and climate a little bit. The political piece, that's a big threat.
That was that think, adapt, anticipate campaign. The entire goal of this is to get Nordstrom itself, the suppliers, everyone throughout the supply chain, and consumers to be aware of what's going on in the world with regards to corporate social responsibility and ways that we can improve it. So the idea is that we can lobby all of them together, get ideas rolling between everyone that we can all agree on, and this way it acts as a marketing tool for Nordstrom as well, so that the consumer is involved and can become a part of it.
So when you said political, you're talking more legislation, not political instability that threatens our supply chain.
Right.
This seems fairly top
One
down.
last question.
It seems fairly top down and behind the curtain. What steps do you take to communicate this to your loyal customers, to the non-customer? How are you going to do that?
I think more the grassroots sort of marketing style now, especially from a company that's so big and iconic like Nordstrom, will really be an intimate source of media transparency to a consumer. They'll feel like they're with Nordstrom if they belong to even their Facebook page or their Twitter page. They can follow Nordstrom on Twitter and hear about the things they're doing. It sounds almost like a buzzword, but it is something that is taking so much shape in what businesses do that they're actually offering positions now in companies that manage the social media of a company. And I believe that having something that differentiates Nordstrom from other companies selling a message by using this, I think that will do very well for them in reaching the consumer and having the consumer reach back to them.
And on that note, let's give them a round of applause.
B2 was from the University of Hawaii, and I'll do B3 here momentarily. So our two semifinalist teams presented, and the winning team receives $500 per participant. You will have your photo put on our perpetual plaque that stays in the Milgard School of Business. The members will receive a custom-made glass trophy as well as a $500 check. And the winning team is from Western Washington University. How about you? There you are. Come on, Stella. And for the school, for their, and actually this is the second award that's going to the business school at Western. Western also won this competition last year. So there you go. So. And that means that the, oh, and here's your check. Try to cash it. So, there you go. And that means, and I would like to give big kudos to our participant who presented and did the case by herself from the University of Puget Sound. So.